What's going on, guys? Wanamess here, back with a brand new Raid Shadow Legends video. So today, my topic is going to be broken gear and broken sets. So I'm continuing my sort of gear guide video, and this I feel like is the next step. We need to talk about broken pieces before we get into like actual gear cleansing of the different sets, so that we can so we can know more information before we go in and actually sell things. So what are like broken sets or pieces? The idea behind a broken piece of gear is it's a piece of gear that you're using purely for the stats that it gives without caring about what set it's in. So depending on where your account is at, anywhere from early to mid to late to end game, that can mean a bunch of different things, right? This video and this sort of guide in general is more geared and aimed towards sort of like the late game player. Obviously post Lydia, right? I talked about that earlier on. Now, I'm not saying that this can't apply to people who are early game, but if you are like really early game or maybe even like early mid game, you'll have to be a little bit more flexible with your gear. Just this is a fair warning. So when I'm talking about like individual pieces or like broken gear in general, I have some guidelines for what I'm looking for in terms of stats, right? So if we're going to get into it and actually kind of talk and look about gear, top row, I'm kind of looking for the same thing, right? So let's start with weapons. So talking about sort of top row items, starting off with weapons, what we're really looking for is crit rate, crit damage, speed, and then a main stat percentage to really cement that it is for that type of scaling champion, right? Either an attack champion or health champion. Weapons don't roll defense percentage, so that's what we're looking for, either health or attack percentage, specifically, not both, one or the other. For helmets, so helmets can roll all three of the main stat percentages, so we're looking for crit rate, crit damage, speed, and then any of the three main stat percentages. So since helmets can roll all three percentages along with all three of the flat stats for attack, health, and defense, excuse me, not health, attack and defense, I tend to go a little bit easier on helmets to try and help fit and create builds, right? Helmets are the hardest piece of gear to get out of the top row for damage dealers, so I go the easiest on them when looking at high roll versus low roll, total stat combination, etc. And then lastly, for shields, so shields don't roll attack percentage, so we're looking for crit rate, crit damage, speed, and then health or defense percentage. So that's kind of what we're looking for in our top row broken gear. So let me show you a couple of examples on my account, just so you guys can actually see what I'm talking about. So let's go and let's actually use the filter. So let's just start with weapons, right? So the substats, we're just looking for speed, crit rate, crit damage, and then I'll do attack percentage first to show a few things. So technically, like I said, broken pieces can be in any set, but if it's in a good set, you generally don't want to use it as a broken piece, right? You want to combine that with another piece from that same set so that you're not just missing out on a good stat bonus, but sometimes you got to do what you got to do and use those pieces, right? So a really good example of this here is going to be like this regeneration weapon, right? So regeneration is not a very good set for damage dealers, especially not attack-based damage dealers. So I have crit rate, crit damage, speed, and attack percentage. Triple rolled speed, hit crit damage. I have all four substats. It's a decent piece, right? I have another one right here. Triple crit rate, attack percentage, speed, crit damage. This is something that is very flexible and can be used in different attack-based champion builds. Let's see if I have one that I'm actively... So right here, right? So curing. This is one of those sets that I don't value very highly. Crit rate, crit damage, speed, attack percentage, right? This is actually being used on my ethos to sort of complete his build by having a very high amount of stats. So if we drop that attack and we look for health instead, we'll kind of see the same thing. These are good sets up here. So here's a frost weapon, right? So crit rate, crit damage, speed, health percentage. Now, admittedly, Skullcrown doesn't scale with health percentage, but you get the same idea. Another one in regen, crit rate, crit damage, speed, health percentage. Unfortunately, I don't have any health-based nukers using it right now, but as you can see, I don't have a ton of these pieces because I'm looking for very specific, all four substats hitting, etc., right? So now for helmets, Like I said before, I tend to go a little bit easier on them. Helmets keeping the health percentage. This is one of my Mortal Macabres that I still use in Arena. Crit rate, crit damage, speed, health percentage, right? Legendary 6-star, hitting all 4 rolls, it's good. I have a couple in Frost, traditionally kind of a broken set. I have, and then that's again, they're hard to get, so you don't have a ton of them. So if I replace that health percentage with, let's say, attack percentage, I have some in crit damage, some in speed. Let's see here. So this is stun, right? Stun is traditionally not like a super good damage dealer set, but I have crit rate, crit damage, speed, and then I hit attack percentage on the end, and this is being used on my Zargala, right? I have one in resilience. Crit speed attack percentage. I have one in defense set. So those are not good sets for attack champions, right? But the stat value on them is very good, very valuable to me, so I held on to it. And then finally, defense percentage. If I have a couple examples here, again, you don't build a ton of defense nukers, so as you can see, I definitely have a far few less of them than attack or health, but I have a couple options in here. And then last but not least are shields. So crit rate, crit damage, speed, defense percentage. I have a couple examples. Here's a good lifesteal one. Now, admittedly, lifesteal does have additional uses, but this could be used as a broken shield, right? Good rolls on all of the stats. It has all 4 of them. Frost, definitely more of a broken set. Crit speed defense. Crit speed defense again. Quite a few options in here. And then health percentage, same thing. Another lifesteal one, crit damage, fury. Any of them that are being, so none of them right now that are being used outside, like as a broken right now, but it's good to have options to help supplement your builds. Okay, so now we're going to talk about bottom row, right? That we covered top row pretty well, talking about the different damage type pieces that we're looking for, and bottom row gear follows the same kind of idea in that we're mostly looking for pieces for damage dealers in some way, shape, or form, right? So first up is going to be gloves. So what we're looking for in gloves is almost exclusively crit damage gloves, right? Especially, again, I'm talking about mostly late game here, looking for crit damage gloves with crit rate, speed, and a main stat percentage, right? So crit rate, speed, attack percentage, or health, or defense percentage, depending on what type of nuker you're trying to build. And of course, if you're getting really fancy, you can try to look for that matching flat stat as well. So like crit rate, speed, attack percentage, and flat attack on a crit damage glove. That would be like the ultimate damage dealer glove. And those pieces can be really hard to get in actual good sets for damage dealers like Savage, Cruel, crit damage, whatever. So sometimes we have to supplement our builds with a broken piece. Hence why I'm looking for pieces like this to hold on to, right? For the most part, I don't really keep broken like health or defense percentage gloves or crit rate or anything, or attack percentage or anything like that. Those gloves, in my opinion, are less valuable and they're easier to sort of find and use like slightly above average pieces in good sets. You don't need like crazy perfect pieces like you kind of do with some damage dealer builds. So for chest pieces, what we're looking for is, again, pretty similar to like a glove. We're looking for crit rate, crit damage, and speed on a main stat percentage chest piece. So attack percentage, health percentage, defense percentage. Those are primarily what we're looking for broken gear with that speed crit on it, right? Depending on your account, you could possibly look for accuracy or resistance chests. It really depends on if your account is especially weak in those types of chest pieces, right? So if you watch my sort of like pre-cleanse gear check, if your account has like basically no accuracy chest, basically no resistance chest, you could possibly keep a broken chest for one of those. You would primarily be looking for speed on it, but the average account shouldn't really need chest pieces like that, right? In a broken sets. Lastly, for the bottom row is going to be boots. So similar to chest pieces, we're mostly looking for percentage boots with crit rate, crit damage, speed on them, right? And then again, so health, defense, attack percentage with those 3 stats. And similar to gloves, if you're trying to get If you're trying to get really, really specific, you can still roll that flat stat on the percentage, right? So chests and boots, health percentage can still roll flat health on there. Now, obviously, we would want the actual rolls to hit crit rate, crit damage, and speed, but having that additional flat stat on there that you can glyph, it's in comparison to the actual percentage chunk you get from the piece, it's not very much. But if you're trying to absolutely maximize your build for a damage dealer, every little bit helps, right? So now, in addition to that on boots, you can also look for speed boots with crit stats. So if we're looking for a speed boot with crit rate, crit damage, and some kind of main stat percentage. So either attack, health, or defense percentage. And these boots, especially in like the very late game, they don't have a ton of use, but it's good to have just a couple of pairs just in case. There's a lot of like PvE sort of like dungeon builds that you're going to end up needing speed boots, but if you're trying to really push the limits and speed up your runs, you want your champions critting, right? You want to crit cap them, you want them to have good crit damage so they hit hard, and then you want their main stat percentage. It's all about sort of min-maxing in the late game. So I wouldn't keep a ton of broken speed boots with crit stats, but you should try to hold on to a couple of them that are very high quality, 6-star epic or better, realistically. And so finally, this sort of rule that supersedes everything I've just talked about. So this is for weapons, helmets, shields, gloves, and chest pieces. So not boots, right? If you have a 6-star legendary piece with speed on it, it doesn't matter what the main stat is for gloves and chests, you should try to roll it. A lot of content creators have talked about this before, but it is still important and worth mentioning, especially because I'm talking about broken gear right now. Depending on the quality of your speed gear on your account, two pieces that are quad rolls can very, very, very easily be better than 2 pieces of speed gear, right? It depends on the quality of your gear, depends on how well the quad rolls, etc. If your account, in terms of like speed gear, if it's pretty weak on like triple rolls overall, which a lot of accounts are not going to have a lot of triple speed rolls in speed set, you can possibly keep triple speed rolls. I wouldn't really do it for top row, but if you have like a health percentage or defense percentage glove or chest piece, if you can triple speed on that, it may be worth keeping if you don't have a lot of really good speed pieces in speed set specifically for that. Okay, so now that we talked about bottom row gear, let me just show a couple of examples, right? Just to kind of help paint that picture. So gloves, I talked about crit damage, right? We're looking for speed, crit rate, and then some kind of percentage. So the best piece that I can think of right now, this is a glove that I've had for a long time and I've used for a while. So this is crit rate, speed, attack percentage, and flat attack. This is what I talked about with like that ultimate min-maxing, and it's in Daze set, right? Daze isn't really a damage dealer set, so this used to be my Trunda glove. This used to be the best attack glove I had on my entire account. Now, luckily, I'm very, very late game. I've gotten some better gloves, or stat-wise, they're actually inferior to this glove, but they are in other better sets, so I've been able to move on. But now this is used on my Ghostborn for Fire Knight farming, right? I want my Ghostborn to be crit capped, pretty good attack, dealing a lot of damage so that I farm that dungeon more quickly, right? So this is a prime example of a crit damage glove, and you could replace this percentage with health or defense percentage and then be looking for that other flat stat, right? Let me see if I have like a health percentage one that's actually being used. Well, this one isn't actually being used for health percentage, but this is a good example, right? Crit rate, speed, health percentage, and flat health on it. So this would be, if you needed a broken glove for a health-based nuking champion, this would be very good. Now, this is on my Maneater in my Unkillable Clan Boss team, right? So obviously I one-key Ultra Nightmare every time, no matter what the affinity. If you are trying to push that team to the next level, using a broken glove on them can be very useful, right? So that's kind of the idea behind crit damage gloves. Now I'm going to do chest and boots together because you can do kind of the same thing, right? So if we're looking for like attack percentage, again here, so life set is not good for attack champions, right? Or like it doesn't really give us that much. Again, this is on my Ghostborn. So triple crit rate, speed, one roll into crit damage with accuracy on the end. This wouldn't be amazing like in my primary arena build on like a Trunda or something like that, because I would ideally want cruel, savage, crit damage, etc. But on my account for a PvE build, this works really well for me. For someone else's account who's maybe not quite as far as progressed as I am, this would be, in terms of raw stats that it provides you, this is a lot of stats that it can give to someone for a nuker or something like that, right? Fury set, right? Crit speed. Frost. Unfortunately, this one did double roll health percentage, so it's not too amazing. Relentless. So obviously, Relentless is a pretty good damage dealer set, but I'm using it on Renegade for Fire Knight. And then, like, here's another really good example, right? Curing. This was my Trunda chess piece for a very long time. Triple crit rate, crit damage, speed, really big speed glyph into there, really high total percentages. Back in the day, this really helped me cement my build by having a huge amount of crit rate and really pushed my damage kind of to the next level, right? So that's kind of the idea behind these broken bottom row pieces. It's generally looking for damage. That's it. High value pieces that roll well into the stats that you're looking for to help you complete the rest of your damage dealer build. All right, so the last thing that I want to talk about is there are a couple sets in particular that I treat strictly as broken. Now what that means is when I'm going through and I'm doing a gear cleanse and I'm selling gear pieces, in these sets, I'm only looking for broken stats, aka damage stats, right? Those sets are going to be Daze, Cursed, and Curing. So the idea behind this is Daze. I just don't like Daze very much. It's kind of a personal thing. I would just much rather use the stun set. If I care about debuffing people, I'd rather use stun. Like powerful debuffs, right? If I just care about having the highest percentage chance, I would use the provoke set instead. So for me personally, when I'm cleansing an account, I treat Daze strictly as broken. All I'm looking for are those damage dealer subsets that I talked about before. Same thing goes for Cursed, right? 75% chance to place a 50% heal reduction. It's just not a good set, right? Even if you're super early game and you don't have any champion to do heal reduction, this is still just not good at all. So I treat it strictly as broken. I have one piece, right? And it's not even that good of a piece. So, and then lastly for this is Curing set. This 20% bonus heal is multiplicative, not additive. So obviously if it was additive, it would be insanely strong. But since it's multiplicative, it's not very effective for a 4-piece, right? If they made this a 2-piece, I would definitely use it to kind of give you that healing boost. But as a 4-piece, it just takes up too many slots of your gear to be worth it. Because it's really not that powerful of an effect, right? So a couple of like honorable mentions to this are going to be Fury set. So Fury set, you're going to see right off the bat, I have a lot more pieces of it. That's because I treat it, it's an honorable mention for a reason, right? I go a little bit easier on it rather than like super strict. The reason for that is eventually I want to put my clan boss team into Fury, because obviously for unkillable clan boss, it's a really good set, right? The damage increases as your health decreases, and when you're in an unkillable team, at least a man-eater version where you actually get down to low health, it's a very good set. So I've given it a little bit more leeway. As you can see, I keep a lot more pieces because I do want to put three or four champions of it in my clan boss team eventually. Another one is going to be a Frost set. So Frost is, I actually like Frost set a little bit, but overall it's just really not that powerful of an effect, right? For a 4-piece, especially now that we have looks like I don't have any pieces of it, but the Frostbringer or whatever. There's a different 2-piece Frost set where if you're trying to like troll people in arena and freeze them, or maybe not troll, if you're trying to freeze people in arena, you probably want to run that set and then a different 4-piece set that's better. It's just the effect is not super powerful for a 4-piece. The only time I really use Frost, and I don't have them built in this anymore because I had to change their build, but champions for faction wars that do AoE provoke, right? Umbral Enchantress, there's that dude in the Orcs, stuff like that. If you already need to AoE provoke in order for your team to win, having this Frost set on them can be pretty nice, right? Because if you can provoke them, and then when they attack you, they get frozen, you get an extra turn to kind of debuff and damage them, and it can really help in Faction Wars. Other than that, I treat it strictly as broken. So that's why it's an honorable mention. It does have a very niche use outside of damage dealer pieces, but that, yeah. So yeah. Another one is Frenzy. So personally for me, I treat Frenzy almost exclusively as a broken set in that I'm just looking for damage dealer pieces, right? Because you gain turn meter for health lost, which on certain champions can be really powerful, right? So like Mountain King can be really good in it. Nogdar is really good. Mortu Macabres, stuff like that in terms of damage dealers. You can use it as a supportive set, but it's mostly, if you're going to use it as a supportive set, you're probably looking to like solo or possibly duo dungeon content. And I just feel like, especially when you're like really super late game, I just feel like the value of that kind of drops off, or at least it dropped off for me personally. I would very much rather run the dungeon quickly with a full team and then do champion training elsewhere. But if you care about like being able to solo dungeons with the champion, you can give Frenzy a little bit more of a shot in terms of like supportive type gear, right? And then the last one is going to be Avenging. So the reason why it's Avenging and not Retaliation as well is because I value Retaliation a little bit more highly. It's actually a pretty good set for like clan boss and stuff like that. And the stats that you're looking for is a little bit different. So for Avenging, it's just 45% chance to counterattack when you get hit with a critical hit. So you're counterattacking when you're getting crit, which in a lot of like PVM content, PvE, like you're not really getting hit too much. And you're not really getting crit a ton, right? Because champions and bosses on waves or dungeons, they don't have a lot of crit rate, right? So the chances of you getting actually hit with a crit is pretty low. So that's why I don't value the Avenging set too highly. But in terms of arena, you could do like again, very niche build on champions who have a really powerful A1. For example, like a Mountain King would be really good. His A1 is super strong. But that's why I'm just really looking for damage dealer, like damage stats on these pieces, right? Because the whole point is you counterattack when you get hit with a crit, and the average champion just doesn't really have that strong of an A1 that it would be worth running an entire 4-piece set for this. So I go pretty tough on this, and I really just look for damage dealer pieces. So yeah, that's going to kind of wrap up my talking about broken pieces. I hope that I was able to kind of convey my thoughts behind it. I hope it made sense, and I hope it can help you guys kind of understand what you're looking for in gear more on your account, and if you're going to try to help other people as well. So again, if you could please like, comment, subscribe, etc., all that fun YouTube stuff. I will hopefully see you on a new video soon talking about gear. Peace.